The wind carried a bitter bite as it swept across the plains of Wyoming, rattling the loose boards of an old, weather-worn barn. A lonesome cowboy stood at its edge, hat low over his eyes, boots sunk in the dirt, the weight of old grief settled in his chest like stones. He wasn't expecting anyone. He didn't want company. But fate doesn't knock, it just walks in. "Please, marry my mama, sir." The words came soft. So soft, he might have thought it was the wind if it weren't for the tug on his coat. He looked down. A little girl, no more than 6, stood before him, shivering in a patched-up dress and worn-out boots. Her eyes were too big for her tiny face, dark, sad, and too full of knowing for a child that small. "She's all I have left," she whispered. He didn't speak. He couldn't. Not at first. Something in his chest tightened. He hadn't spoken to anyone in weeks. Her name was Lily, and her mama's name was June. They had arrived in the ghost town edge of Whispering Pines 3 days ago, in a wagon with a broken wheel and 2 mules too skinny to keep pulling. The townsfolk, what few were left, had watched but said little. Folks around here had grown wary of strangers. Wary of hope. June had come seeking shelter for the winter and a patch of land to tend come spring. A widow, folks guessed. Too pretty, too tired. Eyes like thunderclouds, full of stories no one dared ask. She'd set up camp near the abandoned church and started cleaning it out with her bare hands. With Lily trailing behind her like a little shadow, June swept away cobwebs, patched roof holes, and turned that place into something livable. Every morning she'd take odd jobs, laundry, mending, even cutting firewood, while Lily stayed close, never more than 20 feet from her mother's side. But that night, the night Lily found the cowboy, something had changed. His name was Wade Colton. Folks used to know him as Colt. A drifter. A sharpshooter. A man who'd once fought for justice on both sides of the law. But 3 winters ago, everything he'd known had burned: his ranch, his wife, their baby. All gone. Some said it was rustlers. Others whispered darker tales. He never said. He just disappeared. But June knew who he was the moment she saw him riding past the church. She didn't speak, didn't approach. She'd heard the stories too. But Lily didn't care for grown-up stories. She saw the way the cowboy stopped every time he passed the church. How he paused when June hummed lullabies at dusk. How he never turned his back when danger lingered near town. Lily noticed everything. The night she approached him, a storm was brewing. A real one. Snow threatened the sky. But so did a man named Darren Pike, a known drifter who rode into town the day before. His eyes were cruel. He'd cornered June earlier, offered her protection in exchange for things no woman should be asked for. She'd told him no. She'd told him to leave. He hadn't. That's why Lily came to Wade. Not just because she wanted a father. But because she knew her mother was in trouble. And something in Wade's silent soul stirred. That night, Wade stood outside the church, rifle in hand, as the snow fell. Pike came. Drunk. Armed. Full of poison and pride. What happened next was quiet, fast, and final. Wade didn't miss. When the gunfire settled and the echoes faded, Wade turned to the church door. June was there, arms wrapped around Lily, eyes wide with fear and something else, relief, maybe. Recognition. 1,000 emotions danced in the dim candlelight between them. June stepped forward. She didn't speak. Neither did he. But Lily did. "Thank you, sir." Winter crept in fast after that. Wade didn't leave. He fixed the wagon wheel. Chopped wood. Helped repair the roof. He never spoke of the past, and neither did June. But as the snow thickened, so did their bond. Every day, Lily smiled wider. Every night, Wade found himself closer to the warmth he thought he'd lost forever. One evening, as the first green tips of spring peeked through the melting snow, Lily tugged at Wade's coat again. "Did you think about what I asked?" she whispered. Wade kneeled, his rough hands gently lifting her face. He glanced at June, who stood by the church door, heart in her eyes, no fear this time. Just hope. I did, Wade said, his voice quiet and gravel-soft. And if your mama says yes, I'd be honored. June laughed then, a sound like water over stones. And she nodded. They married beneath the wild cottonwoods, beside the church they rebuilt with their own hands. The whole town came, what was left of it. Because somehow, in saving each other, they'd started saving everyone else too. The cowboy found a new home. The widow found a partner. And the little girl who'd whispered her hope into the wind that night? She got the family she'd dreamed of.